Sanakam, Sanaka, cha, also, Sanandanam, Sananda, cha, and Sanatanam, Sanatana, ata, thereafter, Atmabuhu, Brahma who is self-born, Sanat-kumāram, Sanat-kumāra, cha, also, Munin, the great sages, Nishkriyan, free from all fruitive action, Urdhvaretasaha, those whose semen flows upwards. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning, Brahma created 4 sages named Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat-kumāra. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards. Please repeat the translation. In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat-kumāra. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although Brahma created the principles of nascience as a matter of necessity for those living entities who were destined to ignore by the will of the Lord, he was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task. He therefore created 4 principles of knowledge: Sankhya or empirical philosophy for the analytical study of material conditions, Yoga or mysticism for liberation of the pure soul from material bondage, Vairagya, the acceptance of complete detachment from material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding, and Tapaha, or the various kinds of voluntary austerities performed for spiritual perfections. Brahma created the 4 sages Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat to entrust them with these 4 principles of spiritual advancement, and they inaugurated their own spiritual party or sampradaya known as Kumara Sampradaya, or later on as the Nimbarka Sampradaya, for the advancement of bhakti. All of these great sages became great devotees, for without devotion service to the personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve success in any of the activity of spiritual value. Doesn't see Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namavom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So after creating 5 kinds of ignorance and seeing that these things are further entrapping the living entity who is already conditioned, Brahma feeling that he had to do something to revive them out of this conditioned life, he created these 4 personalities, Kumaras. Sanakam cha, Sanandanam cha, Sanatanam ata Atmabuhu. Brahma, ataha, thereafter, after creation of 5 kinds of ignorance, he created Sanakam cha, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana and Sanat-kumāram cha Munin. And they are all great rishis. They are not common men whom he has created. Why? On what basis they are great rishis? Nishkriyan, they were not interested in any of these materialistic activities. And Urdhvaretasaha, why they were disinterested in materialistic activities? Because they were highly qualified because of their semen flowing upwards. Because of severe tapasya and austerities, they are able to raise their semen standard to go and feed the brain. So that's why they are known as Urdhvaretasaha. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains about this aspect of what are the 4 principles which these 4 Kumaras have propagated. So Brahma created 4 principles of knowledge: Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya and Tapaha. The 4 Kumaras were interested with these 4 topics. Sankhya or empirical philosophy for the study of material conditions, Sankhya. Then Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, mysticism for liberation of the pure soul from material bondage. Vairagya, the acceptance of complete detachment for material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding, and tapasya are the voluntary or various kinds of voluntary austerities performed for spiritual perfection. So Brahma created the four sages to entrust them with these four principles of spiritual advancement, and they inaugurated their own party known as Kumara Sampradaya, which was further led by Nimbarka Acharya. So all these great acharyas, great sages became great devotees of the Lord, for without devotional service to the Lord, one cannot achieve success in any activity of spiritual value. So here, this particular perspective of they are all supportive to devotional service, but finally bhakti is very important if one has to achieve success in spiritual life. And for that, brahmacharya is very important. That urdhva retasaha, that word, in our body, it constitutes 7 dhatus. Anybody has any idea what are these 7 dhatus? The Sanskrit names that they give are rasa, rakta, mamsa, meda, asti, majja and shukra. These are the 7 dhatus our body consists of. Like external skin, if you cut, there are 3 layers of skin here itself. Then comes flesh, blood, bone marrow. That bone marrow is considered as the most precious entity in our body. Nowadays, when child takes birth, itself they preserve some of the bone marrow substance, because in future there is a disease which is irreversible or which is incurable in medical terms. They use this bone marrow technology to revive that bodily part. They regenerate the bodily parts. So from after this bone marrow comes the semen. See, whatever food we eat, it is absorbed by the body. It becomes blood. After blood, it becomes the muscle. It becomes the body muscles. Then it strengthens the bones. Then it increases the capacity of bone marrow, and finally it gets transformed into energy, which is either can be used in material propensity or can be used in spiritual propensity. When person becomes materially very lusty, that energy becomes driven out in the form of semen. That is a life-giving energy. It is not that it is wasteful. It can produce life. It has that capacity to produce life. That's why it is very precious entity, it is said. That semen. How it is said? It is like Prabhupada gives one analysis. Some 80 drops of blood will form 1 drop of semen. Like if there is a proportion. You eat this much food, it becomes so much energy is transformed into so much blood, so much, like it is, like if you start with 10,000, you may reach with 1. Means the concentration of energy that is there in that semen. So there is 2 opportunities for us. You digest that energy, what is produced in the body, or you send it out. So materialist lusty people, what they do is, whenever they see any lusty tendencies, that energy goes out of the body. It ejaculates. It goes out of the body. But devotees, what they do when they engage in tapasya, when they engage in that celibacy and austerity, that they try to absorb within themselves. So when it is being absorbed, this semen, what is produced, will support the brain cells which is there in the head. And it becomes a spiritual food. And they will be able to like what you say, absorb everything what the content is more. They are increasing their brain capacity. So that is what modern scientists have also explained, doctors have also explained, that too much leaving of semen, a person becomes very weak, both physically, mentally also. But those who are able to regulate and absorb within the body, they becomes very strong spiritually, and their brain becomes too favorable for devotional service, because it increases more of sattva guna content. So that's why that is very important. These Kumaras and the sages, they are considered as urdhva retasaha. And all the spiritual sages, they do tapasya and they increase this capacity. Their absorption capacity, their perception capacity, and their presentation capacity. So Bhagavatam many places describes about these Kumaras in a nutshell. What is their intention? Why they were created? In second canto, when various incarnations were discussed, Lord Brahma, he started explaining about this Kumara's perspective. He says, Taptam tapo vivida loka sisarkshayame adau sanatsva tapasah sa chatussano abut prak kalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam samyak jagad munayo yad achakshata atman. The purpose for creating these Kumaras is explained by Brahma. He says, Sisirkshaya means when Lord Brahma wanted to create these planetary systems, when he was ordered to create in this material world, Vivida Lokaha, various planetary systems, Sisirkshaya Vivida Lokaha, then Swatapasaha Taptam Tapaha. Lord Brahma himself had to engage in tapasya. Before starting the work, he himself had done tapasya, understood the position of the various planetary systems by the mercy of the Lord. Then Sanat, the Supreme Lord, being pleased with him, has incarnated as 4 Kumaras. They are the energy of the Lord. They are not some living entities. They are the devotional potency of the Lord. They are the knowledge potency of the Lord. Jnana personification they are. Sa Chatussano Abhut, Lord appeared as these 4 Kumaras. Prak Kalpa, in the previous millennium, Atma Tattvam, the spiritual truth, which is meant for guidance of the living entities, Vinastam became lost. Sakalane Hamasta, Yogo Nasta Parantapa. Similarly, when the millennium changed, the spiritual knowledge for liberation was lost. Atma Tattvam was Vinastam, and Jagada, these 4 sages, have explained in such a nice way Atman about this truth that Munayaha Achakshata, the sages were able to clearly pursue that knowledge in a very easy way. So they brought back the knowledge which was lost in the previous millennium for the people of this millennium about this Atma Tattvam, about the life of, about the absolute truth, self-realization perspective. That's why they are empowered incarnations of the Lord. They are Jnana personified. Like Narada is Bhakti personified, Kumaras are Jnana personified. Jnana is also important. Jnana assisted with Bhakti will become even more enrichment. So in the 11th canto also, Lord himself says to Uddhava, Etavan yoga adishto machishyai shanakadibihi. I taught this yoga to my disciples, the 4 brothers headed by Sanaka. So Lord is saying, I taught to my disciples about this yoga system. So specifically these 4 Kumaras, they are known as Sanaka, means ancient, Sanatana means eternal, Sananda means joyful, and Sanat-kumāra means ever young. The 4 names also represent 4 different qualities. And they also represent truth, consciousness, wisdom, and spirituality. So these 4 aspects, tapasya, Sankhya, Yoga, one more, Vairagya. So how they are very important? See, generally anything we see, we get connected only when these 4 things are there. And one more 5th element is there, we get connected to that 5th element. Like tapasya, somebody does severe austerities, we get connected. Like movies where devotees have, in a movie where hero has to struggle very hard, we relate ourselves to him because we are also struggling very hard to maintain our families and whatever the situations are. So we easily get connected. Somebody is too intelligent. See, which category of movies will become hit? Somebody is too intelligent, he exhibits his intelligent capacity, we become very connected to them. Yoga, Ashtasiddhis, when somebody is able to exhibit Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Ant-Man, he's got super Shaktis. By yoga, they became the Ashtanga Yoga, like that Shaktis. We become very connected to that personalities. And one more is austerity. One who does severe austerity, tapasya, one more is Vairagya. When somebody is too detached, when they exhibit this detachment to the highest category, we become connected to that personality. And the 5th element is there other than these 4, that is bhakti. That is love, romantic. When there is romantic movie, we get connected to it. That is material angle. But for devotees, there is a spiritual angle. That love for the Supreme Lord. So all these four aspects are like four vibhutis. They are the primary things which a living entity wants to possess. So in that way, all these four qualities, whenever we see somebody exhibiting them more than us, we relate to that. We would like to have them. We would like to, we assume ourselves in their position. So what is the unique thing about each quality and how Prabhupada had explained about them in various places? The first one is tapasya. Prabhupada gives definition. Tapasya means we must prolong or proceed with our Krishna consciousness in spite of all dangerous and calamitous conditions of the world. Even though so many dangers are there, so many calamities are there, still if you are able to engage in Krishna consciousness, that is tapasya. And tapasya also means cleansing the heart, to purify our heart. Then, further he says in various places, these are all individual statements not connected in any verse. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of bodily pains to achieve something higher end in life. You sacrifice something to gain something. This is the attitude. That is tapasya to start with. And one should voluntarily accept bodily inconveniences for the sake of knowing Vasudeva. Your tapasya should be for Vasudeva. Because that is a way of real austerity. The real tapasya is to know Vasudeva Sarvamiti. And according to Bhagavata philosophy, every human being is meant for this tapasya. Tapasa brahmacharyena, there is a shloka in 6th canto, it says, everybody have to engage in this tapasya. Because by penance only one can realize his self. And not sense gratification is the business of human life. Tapasya is what is that statement? Rushabhadeva 5.5.1. Tapo divyam putrakayena satvam. So the tapaha is the divya. So if one wants to advance in spiritual realization, tapasya is very important. The tapaha was begun from the very beginning of the creation and it was first adopted by Brahmā himself. He is showing an example by himself. If you want to do something in this world, you have to engage in tapasya first. By tapasya only one can get the profit of human life and not by polished civilization of animal life. See, a scientist has to find out something means he engages in the topic forgetting food, drink, holiday, all these things and all. He'll be months, days, years, he'll be prolonged in the, like he'll be engaged in that, engrossed into that subject. For something to come out superior, better, somebody has to spend time for it. So that spending of time in that too much contemplation is what tapasya for him in material perspective. The more we engage in austerities, the more we become powerful by the grace of the Lord. So they derive the power also when we engage in more austerities. Taking the path of tapaha is the second birth of the desiring disciple. So when we accept the second initiation, it is like we are accepting tapasya for the service of the Lord. It is like second birth. The Lord being the source of everything is the origin of all austerities and penances also. The tapasya himself was started by the Lord himself in the form of various incarnations. He showed Naranarayana, they are engaged in tapasya for the welfare of the whole universe. So liberation may be achieved by many methods, but all of them are more or less depend upon tapasya, which begins with celibacy. There is tapasa brahmacharyena, samena cha damena cha, tyagena satya sauchabhyam, yamena niyamena va. All these things, the basic element is tapasya. Tapasa brahmacharyena. Like how Shravanam Kirtanam is very important in Navaveda Bhakti. For advancement towards spiritual life, tapasa brahmacharyena, both are very important. Then comes Vairagya, what Prabhupada said about Vairagya. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya also means detachment from matter and sense gratification and engagement of the mind in spiritual topics. So there is this Mayavadi people who engage in Vairagya and devotees they engage in Vairagya. Mayavadi people, they want to make their mind blank. They wanted to make it desireless. They wanted to be free from all material sense gratification. But since mind cannot be idle for a moment, they cannot hold on to that point for a long time, they come back to this material world. Arukhya kruchena parampadam patanti yadaha. They hold on, because that is not the original state of the living entity. But devotees, they replace it with higher taste. Rasavarjam rasopiyasya param društva nivartate, because they absorb that sense gratification in the service of the Lord to satisfy the senses of the Lord. So they are absorbed in higher taste and they do not fall down from the situation. When the conditioned soul finds by culture of knowledge that material necessities are unwanted things, he becomes detached from such unwanted things. This stage of knowledge is known as Vairagya, or detachment from unwanted things. Right. Like, for example, we also become momentarily detached. Jai Shri Radha Govinda ki. So somebody has some habits, but that habits are sometimes taking too much time. Momentarily we also show some Vairagya towards that. Like somebody, a food person, when he is first time diagnosed as sugar patient, so initially he will be very alert. He says, I don't eat sugar, sweets. He will try to avoid. But contemplation, someday he will fall. Someday he will eat more. That is one example. Because generally people try to restrain, but because of natural habituation, they will not be able to restrain it for a long time. Then sometimes when we play games in our mobiles, what happens? We become very absorbed and we wanted to win and we wanted to come to the positions. But sometimes games are so frustrating. After 10-15 times you feel, oh, I am not able to go to the next level. You say, let me leave it for a side. For some days we say, I am Vairagi. I don't touch this. But again, after some days, again mind will pull towards it. I am just saying these are all examples how mind will behave towards these material allurements. But Krishna conscious movement is progressing successfully in the Western world because the youth have reached the stage of Vairagya, renunciation. The hippies, they are exhausted with these material facilities what they have. So they have revolted about these facilities, and because they are exhibited the symptoms of Vairagya. So that's why Krishna consciousness, they are able to easily pick it up. One understands the conscious position of knowledge and Vairagya, renunciation. So without knowledge, one cannot have realization. So when jnana is there, then Vairagya is easily be executed and one advances further. So in Bhagavatam also, about this Vairagya, Kapila Muni explains to his mother, Devahuti, he says, Jnana Vairagya yuktena, bhakti yuktena chatmana, paripashyati udasinam, prakritim cha hata ojasam. So Jnana Vairagya yuktena, by knowledge and by detachment, bhakti yuktena cha, engaging in devotional service, paripashyati atmana, one sees everything in equal himself, in the self perspective, and udasinam prakritim cha, he becomes indifferent to material qualities. How to develop this Vairagya is explained in this perspective. And material influence have very less capacity to influence, material perspectives have very limited influences on him. Hata ojasam means their strength is very depleted. They cannot impact on a person who is engaged in jnana Vairagya yuktena bhakti yogena cha. So when you engage with knowledge and with detachment, engage in devotional service, material propensities will not be able to divert your attention. And further he says, Jnana Vairagya yuktena bhakti yogena yoginaha kshemaya padamulam me pravishanti akutobayam. If you engage in this process in a long time, from initial stage to advanced stage, what happens? So Jnana Vairagya yuktena bhakti yogena kshemaya. This is the engaged for the ultimate benefit, eternal benefit, engage in devotional service. Padamulam me, and accept the shelter of my lotus feet. Pravishanti akuto bayam, they go back to my eternal abode without fear, fearless. So Vairagya and Jnana, very important for advancement in spiritual life. Like when you engage in bhakti, these two are byproducts. Then about yoga, Ashtanga yoga basically. Yoga means, Prabhupada many places describes as yoga indriya samyama. Yoga means meant for controlling the senses. So first thing is, when Krishna explained about yoga to Arjuna, and what is this yoga? You should act as per yoga 2.48. Krishna says to Arjuna, yoga means to concentrate mind on the Supreme by controlling the ever disturbed senses. And who is that Supreme? That Supreme is Lord Krishna himself. The purpose of yoga is to control the senses and engage them in the service of the Supreme Lord. Yoga means concentration of the mind detached from all other subject matters, and this is known as, perfection is known as, in this known as samadhi. By complete practice of yoga, bhakti yoga, one comes to the point of surrender to the Supreme Lord. Unless you come to this platform, the yoga is not complete. Surrender to the Supreme Lord is the last stage in yoga practice. Yoga means meditation on the Supreme Lord, and Maha Yoga means those who engage in devotion service. Prabhupada explained there is something called as Maha Yoga. And yoga also means acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord. And yoga also means link. A system of yoga in his attempt to reconnect our broken relationship with the Supreme Lord. Either Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. They are a link for us to connect back to the Lord. This is about yoga. And finally about Sankhya. Sankhya means factual knowledge by which one can get out of this material entanglement. It is an analysis of understanding the material elements and spiritual matter. Like you dissect everything and you come to a perfect conclusion. That is what Sankhya is. Analysis between matter and spirit. Atheistic Sankhya philosophers analyze the material elements scrutinizingly and come to the conclusion material nature is the cause of everything. They do not accept the Supreme Lord as the cause of everything. This is the problem with atheistic Sankhya philosophy. They analyze these 24 elements, they say this whole world is running only by these 24 elements. If you see in that 16th chapter, the demoniac qualities, they say this whole world is caused because of sex only. And there is no other cause. They see only these 24 elements. But there is 25th element, the soul, 26th element, the super soul, the 27th element, time, 28th element. 3 modes. They can't perceive all these other 4 elements. The specific significance of philosophy is known as Siddhi Bhumim, is the background of salvation. People suffering in this material world can get freedom by understanding the Sankhya philosophy as enunciated by Kapila. So this is for a category of people who are very thoughtful. They want to analyze everything, they want to research everything, they want to know in and out of everything. For them this Sankhya philosophy is. Like Prabhupada in that 5th chapter or 6th chapter, there is 5th chapter I think. Sankhya is finding the root, Bhakti is watering the root. Both are same. Sankhya Yoga Pratak Bala Pravashanti Pratak Vidaha. Like I think some sloka is there. Sankhya and Yoga are not different. People may say they may be different, but one is finding the root, another one is watering the root. The purpose of both is to reach that root, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In meditation, there are 2 yoga systems, Ashtanga and Sankhya. Ashtanga is practice of concentrating the mind, and Sankhya is to distinguish truth from ephemerals. So both are part of meditation only. So one is analyzing, another one is concentrating on the same thing. So in this way, we see all these examples for us. But who is that one personality who had exhibited all these 4 along with Bhakti? Any idea? In whom you can perceive all these 4? Hanuman. Hanuman has exhibited all these things. Tapasya. What was his tapasya? Okay, he did. Then austerities, he had taken up austerities. When Lord Ramachandra went away to spiritual world, Hanuman was staying in this material world and engaged in tapasya. For what reason we will understand later. Till he is still doing this tapasya. That is one. Next, Sankhya. He is very expert in all learned scriptures. He is very intelligent. And he knows what to talk, how to talk, when to talk. Then, Yoga. He is fully equipped with all the Ashtasiddhis. He becomes smaller than the smallest or bigger than the biggest. He can change his form at will. So, he is also equipped with Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Then, one more is Tapasya, austerity, penance. What? Vairagya. So, he exhibited his Vairagya in a sense. When Lord Ramachandra asked him for liberation, what do you want? Do you want liberation? What statement did Hanuman give? The shloka I could not get, it was in Sanskrit. It says, Hanuman requested, my supreme affection for you stand forever. May my devotion to you be constant. Let not my love be diverted to anyone else. May life continue in my body as long as your story remains current on this earth. Means, as long as devotees are there of Lord Ramachandra, as long as glories of Ramayana happens in this material world, let me live in this world till that time. And one shloka which is quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about Hanuman's capacity says, Bhavat Bandha Chide Tasyai Spruhayami na Muktaye Bhavan Prabhur Aham Dasa Iti Yatra Vilupyate. When Hanuman was asked about liberation, Hanuman said, this is what my prayer is. Bhavabandha chide tasyai. I do not want to attain liberation or merge in Brahman effulgence. Bhavabandha, to cut these material things, I don't want. Spruhayami na muktaye. Not even liberation. Muktaye. Bhavan Prabhur Aham Dasa. You are Prabhu, I am Dasa. This conception I want. Iti yatra vilupyate. I don't want to forget myself that these two positions. Like if you merge in the Lord, what will happen? You think you are one with the Lord. So where is that master, where is that servant? I don't want to lose that conception. I want, you are always my master and I am always your servant. And further he says, Bhakti seva bhagavato muktis tadapada langanam ko muda dasatam prapya prabhavam padam ichyati. Bhakti seva Bhagavan, devotional service to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Muktis tadapada langanam. Mukti is like merging into this body, liberation into the body. Ko muda dasatam prapya. Which is that muda, foolish person, prapya, runs behind this liberation of merging into the Lord. Prabhavam padam ichyati, leaving the personal service to the Lord. So he is a foolish person if he wants to merge into the body of the Lord, leaving away the personal service of the Lord. And further he says, Jivite kratubuddhis tvamma pratignyam vilopya matkata pracharishyanti yava loke harishwara tavatvam ramasva suprito madvakyam anupalayan. Because you have made your mind firmly to live on this earth, so do not let your promise go in vain. O best of the monkeys, as long as my stories, my pastimes circulate on this earth, so long live happily, keeping my words in your mind. Because Sugriva and all others went back home, back to Godhead along with Lord Ramachandra. But Hanuman stayed back to give protection to the devotees of Lord Ramachandra, wherever they are there in this world. So in that way, they exhibited their capacity. Hanuman was the best personality for devotional service. At any time, he did not put down his capacity. Whenever he was tested, he brought out the best out of him all. To see the situations. When Hanuman was crossing the 100 yojana, the Mainaka Parvata comes and says, please come and take rest. So Hanuman says, no, I am very short of time. I have to engage in service of Lord Ramachandra. I don't have time for my taking rest. I am not thinking of that itself. Because Lord Ramachandra is very anxious of separation from Sita. I have to bring that information. I cannot take rest for a moment also. So that is one more. When that bridge was being built, so Hanuman and other monkeys, Hanuman was the major personality in assisting the building the bridge. Big rocks he had carried from everywhere. In 5 days they built that bridge. The bridge capacity is 100 yojanas long and 10 yojanas width. And 1 yojana is 8 miles, it is 12.5 kilometers. So in 5 days they built 1250 kilometers bridge long and 125 kilometers width. See, the Vanaras. So how huge bridge they have constructed in 5 days. And there is an analysis. In 5 days, how much? 14, 20, 21, 22, 23. These are the yojanas which they have built every day. The first day was very slow, 14. After that, 20, 21, 22, 23. 100 yojanas. Okay, after going there, fight started. The first he brought the information from Sita Devi. So when he went near Sita Devi was very fearful. So he gave assurances to her. He spoke very nicely of Lord Ramachandra. And he assured her very soon Lord Ramachandra will come. He even informed her, I will take you personally. But Sita Devi rejected that offer, saying that my husband has to come and reclaim me. That is a great way for me to maintain my chastity. The Hanuman, and he actually when he offered, I will carry you. At that time Hanuman was a small monkey. So Sita Devi said, whether you will carry me or whether you will throw me from there in the ocean itself, like that and all, in a doubting capacity she put forward. Then Hanuman becomes little offended. Then he shows his Ugra Rupa, huge form. So then Sita Devi says, okay, now I trust you, whatever you say, and you are capable enough, don't take it seriously. Don't get offended. So Hanuman, when he was tested, he proved, I am a better personality, I can do this, I can easily lift the entire Lanka and take away and place it back. Then when Indrajit had attacked Lakshmana with that Sammohanastra, so Hanuman was the one who had reacted very fast. So he has to go to Himalayas and bring that Gandhamadana Parvata. So when he was going there, one of the Rakshasa was deputed by Ravana there on the way to entice Hanuman and to kill Hanuman. Hanuman had to fight there, kill that Rakshasa there, then go to that Gandhamadana Parvata. Generally, it is that Gandhamadana Parvata is not meant for public access. So all the rishis there and all the demigods there who are guarding that Parvata, they wanted to hold Hanuman to take it back. So Hanuman, what he had to fight with all that demigods, he had to defeat them, bring that entire hill, because the sages, what they thought, if this Sandana Karanis, Vishale Karani, these are all what you call as Sanjeevani, they will bring back life. There are 4 parts in that Sanjeevani. So they made, what is the specialty of this herbs is, they glow compared to normal. So what the sages did, they made every plant glow, so that you will not be able to discriminate which is Sanjeevani and which is normal. So Hanuman was wondering, how do I pick up? So he thought, let me take the entire hill. He picked up the entire hill and brought it to Lanka. And when they were brought to Lanka, Jambavan was intelligent. So as soon as Hanuman was bringing that hill, he made all the dead bodies of the Ravana party tie with stones and throw it into the ocean. Because even if they inhale that air, they will all come back to life. So if you throw with a stone tied to their body, it will be sinking into the water and it will not float to the top. So in that way, they will not be recovered back. Only the soldiers of Sugriva party are revived back along with Lakshmana. So in that way, he brought the hill. Then the Shushusha, the sage who was the medicinal practitioner, he brought the specific leaves and Lakshmana was revived. So Ramachandra at that time hugs Hanuman and says, there is nothing I can give you back. I am indebted to you. So then again, the last point, after everybody, war is over and everybody were brought back, and when Pattabhisheka happened, then Hanuman, all the others were given gifts. And Hanuman was the last person. And he was personally called forward, and Sita Devi, her pearl necklace, which is very valuable and dear to her, she gave that necklace to Hanuman. So Hanuman started opening out each pearl, breaking it and throwing away. Then all the other people, they started laughing at Hanuman. Hey, what is he doing? So see, you give monkey a most valuable pearl and he sees how he is breaking and throwing it away. And somebody had asked Hanuman, what are you doing? Why are you, like they are commenting, and when they asked Hanuman, what are you doing? Hanuman said, I am trying to see if there is a Lord in these pearls. Because there is no Lord, there is no my Lord in these pearls, that's why I am discarding them. Then somebody commented, if in your body also there is no Lord, you have to discard your body also. So then he said, no, Lord is there in my body. And he opened his chest, everybody could see Sita Rama in his heart. He had bound the Lord within his heart because of his constant devotion service. So in that way, Shastras have glorified the devotional element of Hanumanji, a greatest servitor, not bothering for his any inconveniences. And he acted with all the best qualities in the service of Lord Ramachandra. And he became as an eternal servant. And it is said that Hanuman is more qualified in presence of Garuda also to massage the Lord. It said even if Garuda is there, who is the personal servant, Hanuman will be given the first priority to serve the Lord. Like in comparison, he will be given first priority, it seems. But in seniority, Garuda is given first priority. So that is, Valmiki Ramayana glorifies in that perspective Hanuman as the greatest servitor of the Lord. And whenever he questioned, he exhibited his capacity. He was like a shadow of the Lord. Shadow means what? Shadow will not move unless the Lord moves. Means he is acting just as a representative of the Lord without any personal benefit or personal happiness. So in that way, he exhibited all the qualities, yoga, sankhya, tapasya and vairagya. Vairagya means when the Lord Ramachandra went away, he had to stay in renunciation, separation from the Lord, feeling the separation of the Lord. And he had to engage in tapasya. Like all these austerities, all these things had made him the greatest personality. So I'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణ వాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలు